I was like 10 minutes from your gym. I was dropping tags and locations all day on my Instagram. Your homies that train with you, follow me. They were seeing my story. You had to know where I was at. 10 minutes from your gym, bro. I was probably right down the street from you.
I mean, Sean Strickland is just stirring the pot big time here, and I absolutely love it. He's like, I was dropping locations. All your homies, follow me on Instagram. I'm down the road. If he was at Newport Beach.
This is Sean Strickland.
Sean Strickland just nuked the rules of engagement. He wasn't just talking trash on a microphone. He was dropping real-time GPS coordinates on Instagram, daring Khamzat Chimaev's crew to pull up for a street fight. This isn't a promo anymore. It's a direct invitation to a felony, and the UFC is currently in a full-blown state of emergency trying to contain the fallout. Dana White isn't just annoyed, he's staring at a potential PR catastrophe that could dismantle a massive pay-per-view before the fighters even reach the arena gates. The line hasn't just been crossed, it's been set on fire by a man who genuinely seems to believe he is above the consequences of the law and the organization.
Buttons until they break.
Of his career, when he took out Fluffy Hernandez, it was beautiful. And that knee up the middle that he finished him with. And by the way, all of the takedowns that he was able to stop. That's why I say this fight is not a foregone conclusion for Khamzat Chimaev. Yes, Khamzat is the better wrestler. Yes, Khamzat has the bigger power, okay? But there's more to it than wrestling and punching power. There's conditioning, okay? And Sean Strickland's got some of the best conditioning in the game.
Imagine being 10 minutes away from your rival's gym and tagging your exact location for the entire world to see. Strickland didn't just hint at a confrontation. He practically laid out a red carpet for Chimaev's inner circle to find him. He knew exactly who was watching his stories. He knew the homies would report back to the Chechen powerhouse immediately. This wasn't a calculated marketing move or a bit of clever PR. This was a man genuinely courting a life-altering incident in a parking lot, bypassing every security protocol the UFC has spent decades building. He is weaponizing his location to see if anyone is actually brave enough to bite on his self-destruct button.
Right? Simple as that. There's the weight cut. Sean isn't quite as big as Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev was walking around 240 pounds not too long ago. That's when he was talking about going up to the light heavyweight division and going after Alex Pereira. But of course, you know, he's got to defend his belt, so he's coming down to 185. That will play a factor. We saw against Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. He started to slow down. By the way, commiserations to Gilbert Burns. Lost to Mike Malott at the weekend. Is this the end of the road for Gilbert Burns? I don't know, but I'm a fan of Gilbert.
You have to understand the gravity of who Strickland is playing with here. Khamzat Chimaev doesn't come from a world of scripted drama and trash talk personas. He comes from a culture where honor and perceived slights aren't resolved with a handshake or a witty comeback. By questioning Chimaev's willingness to show up outside the cage, Strickland isn't just poking a bear, he's spitting in the face of a man who views these challenges with extreme prejudice. This is psychological warfare at its most barbaric, designed to turn a professional sporting event into a deeply personal blood feud that cannot be contained by four walls, a referee, or a team of highly trained medical professionals.
Coming into this one, he's like, bro, you want to go out there and talk all of this shit and make out like you're going to threaten me and come to my house and kill me? That's fine. I'll see you in the octagon, okay? Sean Strickland doesn't walk around with a massive entourage. He doesn't, and I respect that about him. You don't need an entourage. You don't even need a bunch of coaches. It's just Sean, Eric Nixick, and a bunch of people that he spars with. Most of the time, he's always dressed the same. He's always got a white t-shirt on and a pair of jeans, right?
Your nuts are probably full gray, dude. How much TRT are you on, dude? Relax.
Enough to put you in your place. Don't worry about it. He's a simple man that fights his goddamn ass off, talks his...
Dana White has spent years dismissing drama as just business, but this time the tone in the backrooms is chillingly different. Usually the UFC loves a good rivalry, but when a fighter starts weaponizing his physical location, the legal liabilities become an absolute nightmare. An emergency press conference isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it's a necessary intervention to stop a disaster. How do you regulate a superstar who treats the world like a GTA lobby? Strickland is proving that he believes he's above the rules, and that makes him the most dangerous asset the organization has ever tried to manage. He is flirting with a catastrophic incident that could change the sport forever.
What do you think about this entire situation? Who do you think wins this matchup? I love the way that this is being built up. never mind that. It's a very, very intriguing matchup as it is. Right, I got to go. I've got an insane schedule coming up this week. So thanks for watching. Give me your thoughts on this matchup. What do you think about all the dropping locations and Hamzat not going to see him? What do you think? I don't think anything of it. I think Hamzat wasn't aware. I think Sean's just using it as an idea to talk a little bit of shit. Because that's what Sean Strickland does. And God bless him. And we love him for it. And it makes it...
While the world focuses on the potential street war, there's a technical secret hiding in plain sight that makes this matchup even more volatile. Everyone assumes Chimaev is a foregone conclusion because of his terrifying wrestling and raw power. But Strickland has a weapon that doesn't show up on a highlight reel, an endless gas tank. He isn't just a fighter. He's a cardio machine designed to survive the initial storm and drag his opponents into deep, dark water. If Chimaev can't find the early kill, he might find himself drowning in a pace he simply cannot match. Strickland thrives in the late rounds, systematically breaking down elite athletes who thought they were safe. Let's talk about the 240-pound elephant in the room. Khamzat Chimaev isn't a natural middleweight anymore. He's a light heavyweight, squeezing his massive frame into a 185-pound limit. He was walking around at staggering weights not too long ago, and that kind of extreme depletion leaves a permanent mark on the soul. We've seen him slow down against top-tier guys like Usman and Burns when the fight pushed past the first few minutes of explosive action. Strickland's team knows this. They are banking on the fact that the weight cut will drain Chimaev's explosiveness, leaving him vulnerable to a man who thrives on attrition and constant annoying pressure that never goes away. Strickland's dropping location stunt wasn't just about bravery. It was a calculated strike at Chimaev's mental state during the most vulnerable time of his training camp. When you're starving and dehydrated from a brutal weight cut, the last thing you need is a madman taunting your manhood on a global stage. Strickland is forcing Chimaev to choose, either ignore the insult and look weak in his own culture, or react and risk a massive legal and disciplinary disaster. It's a lose-lose proposition for the Chechen, and that's exactly how Strickland likes to play. He understands how to push buttons until they break, creating a narrative that is undeniably dangerous for everyone involved. What makes Sean truly terrifying isn't a flashy knockout, it's his total lack of a filter and his unapologetic authenticity. He doesn't have a PR team, he doesn't have a massive entourage, and he certainly doesn't care about the UFC's corporate image. He shows up in a white t-shirt and jeans, speaks his mind without hesitation, and lives a life that most people would find deeply unsettling. When he tells an opponent to come to his house and try to end him, he isn't selling tickets, he's stating a cold, hard fact. This level of raw, unpolished honesty is a nightmare for a billion-dollar company trying to go mainstream. He strips away the glitz and returns the sport to its primal essence. Look at the massive contrast between these two camps. Chimaev travels with a small army of coaches, training partners, and mysterious associates. Strickland, he's usually with Eric Nixick and a handful of guys he spars with. He doesn't need the fluff. He doesn't need the ego stroking. This minimalism gives him a mental edge that most fighters can't comprehend. He is stripped down to the primal essence of combat, while his opponents are often weighed down by the expectations and noise of their massive teams. This disparity is exactly why Strickland feels so unpredictable. He has nothing to lose and no one to answer to but himself, making him a wild card in a deck of face cards. The secret to Strickland's success isn't matching Chimaev's wrestling, it's making it too expensive to use. Think of a boa constrictor trying to squeeze a man made of razor blades. Strickland has developed a preternatural ability to create scrambles and force his opponents to burn precious oxygen for every single inch of ground. He isn't trying to out-wrestle the best wrestler in the world, he's trying to exhaust him. Every takedown attempt becomes a massive withdrawal from a bank account that Chimaev might find empty by the start of the third round. This methodical approach is a terrifying prospect for any dominant wrestler, turning their greatest strength into their biggest vulnerability. The UFC has spent millions of dollars branding itself as the pinnacle of professional sports, a sanitized version of gladiatorial combat, but Strickland is actively tearing down that curtain with both hands. He reminds the audience that at the end of the day, these are men who are willing to engage in street warfare. By inviting Chimaev to a confrontation without referees or medical teams, he exposes the fragility of the UFC's control. He's taking the sport out of combat sports and returning it to something much more ancient and much more dangerous for the brand's bottom line. He is a walking, talking embodiment of chaos that forces the organization to confront a volatile new reality. We've never seen a fighter use social media as a direct tactical weapon quite like this. Dropping tabs on Instagram isn't just about engagement, it's about creating a constant nagging pressure on the opponent's psyche. Strickland knows Chimaev's friends are watching every move. He knows the messages are being relayed back to the gym in real time. He's living rent-free in the entire camp's head, making them focus on a potential street fight instead of the technical nuances of the octagon. It's a brilliant, if barbaric, way to dismantle a superior athlete before the first bell even rings. He ensures every moment leading up to the fight is laced with genuine, palpable tension. We have to look back at the Kamaru-Usman fight to see the cracks in the Chimaev myth. Usman took that fight on incredibly short notice and still managed to make Chimaev look human in the later rounds. If a short-notice Usman could do that, what can a fully prepared, cardio-focused Strickland do? Sean doesn't just have conditioning, he has a chin made of granite and a style that is notoriously difficult to time. He's a jab-heavy grinder who stays in your face until you break, and that is the exact style of fighter that historically gives explosive wrestlers a heart attack. He intends to draw Chimaev into deep waters where raw power eventually betrays the man who relies on it. Dana White is likely losing sleep because he knows Strickland is a man who genuinely doesn't care about his contract or his reputation. Most fighters can be controlled with the threat of fines, suspensions, or lost opportunities, but Strickland seems to embrace the chaos. If he gets kicked out of the UFC for a street fight, he'd probably just keep doing the same thing on his own terms. You can't control someone who doesn't value the things you can take away. This makes him a systemic threat to the UFC's hierarchy, and it's why every move he makes is under intense, nervous scrutiny. He represents a force that fundamentally challenges the sport's attempt to sanitize its image. People criticize Strickland's style for being boring or defensive, but they completely miss the point. His defense is his greatest offensive weapon. By frustrating opponents and making them miss their biggest shots, he forces them to expend massive amounts of energy while he stays fresh. Against a powerhouse like Chimaev, this isn't just a strategy, it's a necessity. If Sean can make Chimaev miss those big looping shots and stuff the first few desperate takedowns, the momentum of the fight will shift violently. The hunter quickly becomes the hunted when the prey refuses to lie down and die, and Strickland is a man who has made a career out of surviving the impossible. Let's dive deeper into that 240-pound walk-around weight. That is a massive amount of mass to move through the world, let alone cut down to the 185-pound limit. The metabolic debt Chimaev pays every time he steps on the scale is astronomical. This isn't just about being tired. It's about the brain being less protected, the muscles lacking vital glycogen, and the heart working overtime just to keep the body moving. Strickland is a natural middleweight who doesn't kill himself to make weight. That physical disparity in the 4th and 5th rounds isn't just a minor factor, it's the entire story of the fight. This physiological weakness is the hidden key that could neutralize power. Strickland is a master at identifying pressure points. He knows exactly which buttons to push to make an opponent fight with emotion rather than logic. When Chimaev gets angry, he gets aggressive. When he gets aggressive, he gets reckless. A reckless Chimaev is exactly what Strickland wants. He wants the wild exchanges, the desperate lunges, and the emotional outbursts. He's turning the octagon into a psychological trap where the more Chimaev tries to kill him, the faster Chimaev's own body will betray him. This is the dark art of mental warfare, and Strickland is wielding it like a seasoned pro who understands exactly how to break a man's spirit piece by piece. Every time Strickland opens his mouth, a PR executive at the UFC's parent company probably has a minor stroke. He says the things that are supposed to be unspoken, and he does it with a grin on his face. The organization wants athletes who act like corporate professionals, but Strickland acts like a guy you'd meet at a dive bar who happens to be able to end your life. This authenticity is why the fans love him, but it's also why he's a constant liability for the brand. He doesn't follow the script, and in a multi-billion-dollar business, an unscripted star is a dangerous thing that can trigger a real-world incident at any moment, leaving everyone scrambling. Sean's jiu-jitsu is often overlooked because he rarely looks for flashy submissions, but his defensive grappling is elite. He doesn't just sit and guard, he creates constant scrambles that force the top player to work tirelessly to maintain any kind of position. Chimaev is used to people folding under his pressure, but Strickland is like trying to hold down a greased pig. By refusing to accept the bottom position and constantly fighting back to his feet, Strickland will make Chimaev work harder in one single round than he's had to work in his entire career. His defense becomes his offense, wearing down his opponent mentally and physically until there is nothing left to give. The real danger in this rivalry is the cultural disconnect. Chimaev takes these street fight invitations literally. In his world, if someone gives you an address, you show up. Strickland, being a product of American combat sports culture, might see it as extreme trash talk, but he's playing with actual fire. If Chimaev's crew had actually shown up at that location, we wouldn't be talking about a championship fight. We'd be talking about a police investigation and a potential tragedy. This is the too far moment that has the entire MMA world holding its breath. It blurs the line between legitimate fight promotion and genuine incitement, making every post a potential flashpoint. If Strickland wins this fight, it won't be because he's a better pure athlete. It will be because he's a better strategist. He is successfully turning a championship fight into a war of attrition before the fighters even enter the arena. He's already won the first few rounds of the mental battle by making Chimaev the one who has to react. In the world of elite fighting, the man who is reacting is usually the man who is losing. Strickland has Chimaev reacting to every post, every location, and every insult, draining his mental energy weeks before the fight actually begins. This methodical approach is a terrifying prospect for any dominant wrestler who relies on control. As we approach the date, the tension is reaching a breaking point. The UFC is doing everything in its power to keep these two apart until the cage door finally closes. They know that one wrong move in a hotel lobby or a gym could result in a disaster that cost the company millions. Strickland has created a situation where the fight is no longer just about a belt. It's about survival and honor. He's pushed the narrative so far into the red zone that there is no turning back. The world is watching to see if Chimaev explodes under the pressure or if Strickland's calculated madness actually has a method that will lead him to another massive upset victory. Ultimately, Sean Strickland is a mirror reflecting the uncomfortable reality of what professional fighting actually is. We like to pretend it's a clean, regulated sport, but Strickland reminds us that it's rooted in something much more volatile and dangerous. Whether you love him or hate him, you cannot deny that he has completely hijacked the narrative and made it his own. He didn't just cross the line, he erased it entirely, forcing the UFC to confront a future where the fighters are more unpredictable than the fights themselves. This isn't just about a win or a loss, it's about the soul of the sport in an era of total unvarnished chaos that demands our attention.